Who should buy the Seahawks? What Seattleites can learn from Minneapolis? And our weekend recommendations. But first, it is currently snowing outside of my window just a little bit, and I don't think the forecast says that it's going to stick or anything, but do we want this? Marcus Harrison Green, founder of the South Seattle Emerald and Hinton Publishing. What do you think?
Hell to the no. I just came from Minneapolis a couple weeks ago, and that was like a cold and snow that nobody should ever undergo.
You're
So
done.
it was colder than the Iceman's draws. It was like I never again. So I don't want to see a flick of snow until maybe December of 2028.
Okay, hard pass for Marcus. Eula Scott Bynoe, community doula and multi-generational Seattle resident. Do we want this?
I'm indifferent. I mean, I don't have like a place I have to be on a regular basis, so getting locked in my house is fine with me.
Get cozy.
Yeah, because that is the season where everybody kind of slows down, quiets down, walks, more, speaks to people, is in the same, is in the trenches together per se. But I don't want it for me as a homeowner who has to be responsible for people walking on my property.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to be shoveling that sidewalk, no.
Or not shoveling it and worrying about somebody slipping and suing me.
Yeah.
I'm not shoveling that.
No. All right, so we're all decided no snow. No, thank you. We're going to pass. Okay, so the Seahawks are officially for sale. I feel like this is the big news that a lot of folks are talking about right now. So the process is expected to last through the offseason, and the team will reportedly cost somewhere between $6 and $7 billion. So backing up a little bit, this is the first season as a bandwagon Seahawks fan that I have really paid attention to football in this city.
Yeah.
Marcus is wearing a Seahawks shirt.
Yes.
Do you all know why we have to sell?
The homie died. And like his sister has it in a trust or something, and she's not allowed to hold on to it because that's not a proper ownership or something.
Yeah, the NFL rules are such that you cannot have a trust that holds it. You have to have either has to be essentially a sole owner, or it has to be sort of a corporate ownership structure with no more than 25 members. And so the reason that they allowed the Seahawks to carry forward this long under this ownership structure is that there was a contract with the state of Washington that if the Seahawks sold before a certain time, then 10% of the proceeds would have to go to the state of Washington. That contract has expired, so now the Seahawks are free to get all of the proceeds and not share with this great state of Washington, which kind of needs the money, to be honest with you. So
yeah,
anyway,
we could take 10% of $6 billion. Well, I also saw in the official announcement that, so Paul Allen's estate is the current owner, and I believe the executor is his sister Jody.
Yes.
And his estate dictated essentially that after Paul Allen died, that all of his assets fund philanthropy, including the sports team. So does that mean we're going to get $6 billion for philanthropy? I wonder where that's all going to go.
Come on,
send it my way, your way, our way. Yeah, shoot. And it's funny because I think about the 10%, and Seattle would deserve it. My late husband is from Boston, and as you know, retroactively, my 8-year-old is a Patriots fan.
Oh,
man.
Oh my gosh, I know. And it's
was
interesting
he crying
explaining
during
to
the
him.
whole time?
No, for real. He really had a hard time with the loss, you guys. Like a Virgo,
sure.
very hard life. But I've been trying to explain to him that like New England, as much as it's a Boston team, it's nowhere near Boston. And like nowhere near it. And it's really interesting how much like our stadiums are right in the heart of our city. They really affect us. They actually really affect us. If there's a game, traffic is, impossible. Everything is impossible. And so we should have got that 10%. I mean, but with all of it going to philanthropy, maybe they'll put more towards the trains and the routes during game days. Maybe it'll be some weird loop that in the end they benefit.
Yeah, what has I'm just curious, like what has the Paul G. Allen Foundation, and I'm actually just asking this question, what has it funded locally that we can look back and be like, okay, yeah, that's I'm glad that it's done some great work here, right? I mean, I know that he has the Experience Music Project that I have not met anybody in the last 10 years who actually goes there. And then he had that terrible concert series for like a year. I think it was the Upstream something that he was trying to make this concert series pop, and they were giving away free tickets after a while because nobody was going to it. So what civically, and again, I do not mean to denigrate the man's memory or anything like that. But yeah, what in recent memory, I guess, has the foundation done where we'd be like, that was such an amazing improvement for the city?
So I'm looking on the Allen Philanthropies website. They gave $10 million to Arts Fund, and they gave $652,000 to the Seattle Children's Theater Association recently. Looks like, they're funding arts and culture, right?
Give more. I just signed my son up. I just signed my son up for the Seattle Children's Theater, like a week scholarship program with their summer camps, and I still have to pay something. Yes. My point is, like, he shouldn't have to pay anything to go move around, dance around for 10 days. Or not even 10 days, 5 days, excuse me.
Also, I'm just curious, like, homelessness and the unhoused population is still a very huge thing here. How much have they given there? I mean, if some of that $6 billion is going to that problem, hey, all to the good, do your things.
Yeah.
Philanthropies, we got ideas for you if you're listening. So here's my other question. Who can buy this team? Who has $6 to $7 billion? I have a list here, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, I'll say this: like they're saying $6 to $7 billion, but I did hear that it might actually go from, because they won the Super Bowl, it actually might go for more than the Lakers recently were purchased for, and that was $10 billion. So I think it's probably closer to who has $10 billion at this point, and. Ooh, that's it's a short list, but I mean, obviously, people have talked about Jeff Bezos. People have talked about, I'm with you on that one. People have talked about Steve Ballmer, who also owns the Los Angeles Clippers of the NBA. A wild card.
He was teasing us forever about how he might bring back the Sonics. He's a former Microsoft CEO, for people who don't know his name. But then he went and just bought the Clippers, so I guess. I don't know. Does that max out the billions he has, or does he still have more billions?
I think he still has some more money. Okay. He still got some more money. Right. I would say the wild card to me, particularly because Jody Allen is one of the few woman owners of an NFL team, or owner, whatever she was, a steward. I would love to have Mackenzie Scott.
Please.
And also just throw it in Jeff Bezos' face that she has a football team and he is locked out of owning an NFL team. That would be like sweet revenge to me. So.
I would love that. She's definitely on my short list.
That woman has been giving away so much money for good things.
Yeah, and as a woman should.
True.
The only person that I want to make sure does not own the team is Howard Schultz. Mm-hmm. Right? We can't trust that man. We cannot trust that man. We do not know or trust that man. That man.
I think that people would simply riot. Like, I think people would,
riot.
People would
figure out where he lives and burn it down.
Yeah.
I would be down for Melinda Gates as well. The idea of women in ownership sounds really impressive
French,
to me.
I believe. I don't know if she dropped the Gates
she did drop the G. She did drop the G. But she's an OG, but she did drop the G.
I know that's right. I would be down for Oprah Winfrey.
Ooh.
Oprah used to have a little island up here, right?
That's right, on Orcas, I think.
Mm-hmm. Come through, kick it, hang out again. But my ideal, when you said that there's like only 25 people can own a team or something like that, I had looked up the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are owned by more than 537,000 stockholders as a nonprofit municipal corporation. So that's what I really think the 12 should get our money together.
I wish we could, but they grandfathered the NFL the NFL grandfathered the Green Bay Packers ownership structure into this new structure. So we are forbidden from doing that. But to your point, I wish we could, because that would be dope.
I know. I was looking into this. So essentially the Packers formed their organization in that way before the modern day NFL created this rule, I think in the 80s, that you can't have more than 32 owners. And one owner has to have at least a 30% stake in the company. But I mean, what if this is such a Pollyanna thing to say, but what if every team in the NFL decided that they wanted a community-owned team instead? And then what would the NFL do?
What's the harm?
I don't know that this is the space where we want to really play our collective action card. I think there are more important things. However, it would be cool, would it not?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And the NFL is technically, you can look this up, it's technically a nonprofit. So, I mean, you would think this would be something more of what they would be, prone to do. But of course, I guess dollars, it doesn't make enough money. So I don't know. I mean, I guess they, at the end of the day, I I forgot who said it. I think is his name DeMarcus Smith or DeMaurice Smith. He was the former president of the NFL Players Association. He said, like, ultimately, this is a private club with rich people, and like you ain't in it, and that's essentially what it. I mean, that's what it is being an owner of the NFL. So.
No,
I was
right.
looking at the list of billionaires in our area, and it was wild to realize like there's some people who only have 1 or 2 billion, and it's like y'all are too broke to buy the Seahawks. It's like you've got to have at least, I think, 20 billion to be able to spend, your $6 to $10 billion on the team.
Right, because you have to purchase the team, and then also you got to make salary every single every single year or what have you. You got to pay for the coach, and everything else. And so it's I don't know how many people have that much spare cash on hand, so to speak. So unfortunately, I think Jeff Bezos might he might unfortunately be the guy to get this team, and I might have to switch over to I don't know a competitive handball or something, and not be a Seahawks fan if that happens. So
women's hockey, baby, that's where it's
Torrent.
at.
Go with the Torrent.
That's where it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what Seattleites can learn from Minneapolis. Marcus, I know you recently joined a delegation of Seattleites who went to Minneapolis to bear witness to what's happening there and learn from people on the ground. And you wrote this moving piece in the South Seattle Emerald with your reflections. So I wanted to read a couple lines from it. I am here because our nation is watching, our city is anxious, and South Seattle's hurting. Minneapolis did not give me hope in the easy sense. It gave me instructions. So Marcus, I want to hear, what did you see there and what did you feel there that you want to bring back to our city?
Well, I felt, 1 degree Fahrenheit of temperature, but in all seriousness, I mean, there's one thing I think when you're looking online or you're reading stories about what's going on in Minneapolis, particularly around, the communities that are both hurting, grieving, but also sort of feeling a sense of empowerment and camaraderie. But I think it's seeing it, right? I remember getting down there and talking to a minister of a conservative church and who had been, staunchly for President Trump, and to see him do a 180 because his neighbors are literally getting abducted and taken off the streets, and recanting sort of his ways, but then also forming a mutual aid network and center now, where not only were they delivering food to folks who were scared to come out and get food to a restaurant because they might be abducted, but as he told me, there are a lot of folks who can't go to work because they're scared that they could be abducted from their work. So, they're literally, we're getting a fund together to pay people's bills, people's mortgages, people's house payments. And it was just, for me, it was just truly heartening to see what was on display, and that was humanity, right? I think we get so caught up at times of, divisions over, politics and left and right and this and that. And it's like talking to that gentleman, talking to one of the parishioners of the church. It's like he said, ultimately, the only thing I care about is humanity at this point. Mm-hmm. And, a humane representation of how we go about comporting ourselves. And I think, maybe call me a Pollyanna or, call me like overly optimistic, but I think more and more people are waking up to that just by seeing like, oh, this is the ramifications of some of the decisions that I made, whether it's, voting or, promoting certain people or certain ideology. And now, it's unfortunate that it's taken grief and quite frankly, 2 people dying within the Minneapolis community to get people to sort of reassess and reevaluate their actions, but at the end of the day, at least they're reassessing and reevaluating. And the biggest lesson that I learned from what folks were saying there was like, look, you can't microwave community, right? And community ultimately is what's going to get us through, these storms, whether it's, coming from the federal government or whether it's, interpersonal dynamics that happen with your, or, natural disaster, earthquake, whatever. It's community ultimately, and the bonds of community that are going to help us either be strengthened through this or, soften the blows that come our way. And you need to build community now, right? While the sky is shining, so to speak, before the storms and the rain come. So
I understand that completely. It was a trip to the line where you said, part of people waking up, you saw a white person wearing a shirt that said "Stop killing us," and that was like so funny to think that not funny. Funny to Eula.
Yeah, gallows humor.
I'm so glad you brought this up, Eula, because I wanted to talk about this. I mean, I've seen similarly white people say their names after Pretty and Good were killed, and that's definitely brought up some feelings for me. And I wanted to talk about, what is going through both of your heads witnessing the local and nationwide response to this?
To me, they're our brothers and sisters, though. So, I do want people to acknowledge them as humans that didn't deserve to have their lives taken, their lights too, right? Race is very important to me culturally because I enjoy being around people that I'm comfortable around, but I want everyone to have the same comforts in the world, So race doesn't impact who I think deserves to live or die. And I wish that people had the same kind of, backing for us, because it's impactful for us that these two people passed away. Alex and Miss Good are just like huge in my mind as people who have done the right thing. And I pray that people can understand that we are nothing but a reflection of them and vice versa. The day of solidarity when everybody took off the day of work was my 1-year-old's first birthday. And so my cousin came over with her 2 kids, and she wanted to take the day off in solidarity. And so we took time to talk about ICE, and I got to do like a very Eula presentation where I started off with like, do we know what Pangea is? Right? Do we understand that we are all from one place initially? Right? And so I'm teaching like a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old this. The 10-year-old was outstandingly genius. I got to send you guys a picture of their protest signs they made. But, we're all connected. It saddens me how people don't recognize that. And I think as long as you wake up, it's a blessing, right? Like if you make it to the table for breakfast, it's fine as long as you get there. If you're late, you're late, but hopefully there's something left for you, right?
That's where
these people are late. Some people are late.
Some people are late, and we'd rather have you than late than never is the approach I'm taking. But I think that there's also a lot of very valid frustration from folks being like, why was this the thing? But if you're here with us now, wonderful.
Yeah. I remember somebody saying it's like at the end of the day, all you can do is leave the lights on for folks, right? And hopefully they'll return, they'll come home, so to speak, right? Meaning, coming to this realization that should be no asterisks and no exceptions when it comes to somebody's humanity, right? And I think, to the point that you're making, I think for some people, quite frankly, they just couldn't see themselves in George Floyd. They couldn't see themselves, in Eric Gardner, right? They couldn't see themselves in Sandra Bland, right? Mainly because they were Black folks, right? Let's be real. But they can see themselves in Renee Good. They can see themselves as an Alex Pretty, right? They can see themselves as somebody who, the state is supposed to protect their identity. And, now, that protection, that was, that was, sort of conditional now, like, and we always knew that was conditional, but I think so many other people are finally waking up to that, because the fact is like, that could actually be me.
So I want to bring it back to Seattle a little bit. ICE has for sure been operating here, but nowhere at the level of Minneapolis. So according to the Seattle Times, they sorted through data from the Deportation Data Project. We saw a 140% increase in ICE arrests in the first 10 months of Trump's presidency in 2025 compared to that same time period in 2024. And I feel like as a city, we've been braced for an uptick in ice activity since the start of the year. Like our local politicians are thinking about it, everyday citizens are talking about it. I'm hearing from folks who are really trying to build networks to make sure kids at school are safe, to distribute whistles. We've talked to some of the folks who are doing that on this very podcast. And this week, CityCast contributor Guy O'Run received a tip from a community member that the Tacoma Ice Detention Facility received what appeared to be a shipment of new black SUVs. And we know that ICE is opening a new facility in Tukwila near the airport where deportation flights take place, thanks to reporting from Wired. Marcus, what was your sense from being in Minneapolis? I know you talked to the Minneapolis Attorney General about ICE's capabilities and their potential for expansion. What is your sense from being down there? What could be the case up here? Like, how should we be preparing? Do folks down there think that there's going to be the kind of expansion we've seen in Minneapolis elsewhere?
Yeah, when I talked to Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, he definitely said just point blank that he thinks, expansion is coming to Seattle. He also just said that, it's going to take some level of what you might call civic ingenuity and civic innovation on the part of our elected officials, to be like, hey, you need to throw sand in the gears, and you can do that, obviously legally, of course. You can also do that by sort of operating in a gray area at times and being as non-accommodating as possible to ICE agents. I will say we obviously have the World Cup coming up here in the summer. I believe that the Department of Homeland Security has already said that, ICE is going to be a part of some of the security up here. So,
Right.
One way or the other, that we're going to have an expanded presence. It's just to what degree at this point. And so I think, again, just going back to the more that we can strengthen and reinforce our communities, the more that we can, provide those networks for folks,
Yeah.
And just doing the small things. There's no terrain, if you will, that this isn't going to touch in our lives. And so the more that we can wake up to that as residents of the city of Seattle, I should say the sooner we can wake up to that, the better.
Marcus, one line that really stuck out to me was that people in Minneapolis were not asking, how are you, but what are you doing?
Yeah, that's really what, ultimately, if you want to boil down, my time there, that was what it was. There were so many people who were saying that is the question that we ask each other now, right? And it was, and again, I'm not trying to, I swear that I'm not trying to paint this, a harmonious picture of the community there, right? They still have their own internal issues, but I will say, like, for folks to mostly, like, everybody you talk to, regardless, right, of political affiliation, ethnicity, religion, being truly like we all are in this together, and we're all in this together because, like, I as an individual could potentially, like, wind up in a bad situation. So solidarity is a strategy, and community is a strategy. That was real, right? And it wasn't any sort of pie in the sky thing. It was like very practical strategy for folks. And so I think, again, this is something that not just Seattle, but I think, across the nation that folks should learn.
Well, they're leading us. Absolutely. And, I was saying already off air that I'm so into astrology, right, you guys? And Minnesota is a Taurus.
No way. I'm also Taurus.
I know. And the stubbornness of a Taurus is what we're witnessing, like, on a big scale. The, like, I will not be budged. I'm bigger than you, and there's nothing you can do to make me get off of my hill. Like, goddamn you, nothing you can do to make me move. And Washington is a Capricorn, and, Capricorns are like dads. They, like, just take care of stuff. That's why all of us are like, we're never really that worried when something happens in DC. We're like, my dad's gonna take care of it.
Right.
It's fine.
Right.
And I think that there's a part of that that's like, I'm grateful for Gurmai passing, a bill that says that ICE isn't allowed on King County property. That's a very dad move. Like, well, your friends can't come over.
For
And
sure.
and I see the progress that we'll get as a result of that, but I'm really grateful for Minnesota and how they're teaching us to be very stubborn in their actions and very unmovable like truly unmovable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of lessons from folks there. I've seen so much great writing, including your piece, Marcus, come out of people spending time there and sharing lessons learned. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about our weekend plans. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. Also, leave us a little review. It's really helpful. And tell your friends about us. You can also get more local news and events delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter. Just go to seattle.citycast.fm. And you can find us on Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at CityCast Seattle, and you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube. So we like to end all of our Friday episodes with, first, a shout out. What brought you joy this week? What do you want to shout out? Is there anything that you really enjoyed?
I can start with saying that I went to the Seattle Children's Theater. We were speaking about that earlier. And they do need more money, but to see the play, the Ada Twist play that they have. I'm low income. I always say that with like great pride almost because I just capitalism and I do not get along. I get fired very easily from anywhere. You can't walk into spaces and say like, this is corrupt, this is inappropriate, this workload was too heavy for her. Like for her, we're talking about you, Eula. Just go. You're making a fuss. But the Seattle Children's Theater had a play on Ada Twist Scientists, which is just cute and about engineering and architecture and scientific thought. And it's, framed around second graders. But the next upcoming play they have is Bruce Lee. They're doing one on Bruce Lee.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm sure they'll have some Seattle like roots to it. So that was a real highlight for me. I took my son, his friend, and my baby, and it's just really nice. And they price their tickets for whatever you want when you say you're low income, and you don't have to prove it in some weird, intrusive way.
Yeah.
And
that's the way to do it.
Oh, it's so important because I grew up going to plays. My parents both had like very, nice cushiony jobs. And so I'm sure they paid full price for all the plays I've been to. But it's the culture that I know, and I'm really grateful that I'm able to share that with my babies.
I love that. What about you, Marcus? What brought you joy this week?
I think it was a remembrance of something Jesse Jackson did. He obviously the civil rights leader. He passed away this week, and so the stranger asked me to write a reflection on his 1988 speech at the Democratic National Convention. And for those who don't know, just a quick history lesson: he was given this speech as a concession as he finished second in the Democratic national convention race to be the Democratic nominee. It was the closest that any candidate of color, but specifically a black man, had came to heading up a major party. And in that speech, he talked about very boldly and unapologetically, about the AIDS epidemic, about the gay community at that point. And this was a time in 1988 where Ronald Reagan, even though hundreds of thousands of people had died of the AIDS epidemic, he didn't say anything about it. I mean, barely anything, I should say. Mm-hmm. And the fact that at that point, a lot of Democrats viewed saying anything about LGBTQIA plus rights are, even just nodding to the fact that, oh, yes, they are. There's humanity there, in this community. It was viewed as a political liability, and so at that point, for him to come out and say that, particularly as a young kid, I think I was 7 at the time, it just challenged a lot of orthodoxy, particularly, growing up at an evangelical church, or not a denominational evangelical church, I guess, at the time, where you were sort of force-fed a lot of problematic stances on and a lot of patriarchy, quite frankly. And so to be able to have that disrupted at that very young age from him, coming out and saying, being somebody of courage and saying that, because it, could and did cost him something. I just, it was good to, I'll say it was definitely good to just, for me, reflect on that level of courage that somebody had. And again, I mean, I'm a person who thinks it's problematic to lionize any human being, and Reverend Jackson had his own issues. But that being said, I think it's also neglectful to not acknowledge when, the impact that somebody has had and impact that he
Yeah.
still continues to have. So yeah.
Powerful to
Yeah.
watch someone take a stand. Yeah.
Keep hope alive.
There you go.
Mhm.
And I am somebody. We are somebody.
Yes, yes.
And I know this feels like a side note almost, but the AIDS crisis was really wondrous because it was a problem that affected all people, but when it started affecting white men, the game completely changed. The game completely changed. And
Yeah, no, that
yeah.
definitely, yes. Well, my piece of joy this week, Torrent Captain Hillary Knight proposed to her girlfriend at the Olympics.
Cute.
So
Nice.
she's now engaged to speed skater Brittany Bowe. They posted about it on Instagram. Hillary wrote, "Olympics brought us together. This one made us forever." Because apparently at the 2022 Olympics, they would take walks together to blow off steam from all the pressure of competing at the international level. It's just a beautiful love story, and it just
Yeah.
makes me happy. It's just very nice.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
the president or JD Vance say anything about this particular thing?
I hope not.
Okay.
If so, I don't know about it, and I don't want to know about
Right,
it.
Understood.
Thank you very
Understood.
much.
But also, are they coming back to this country? That's a real question. Or are they just going to stay there and be joyously married there?
Yes.
I mean,
That's what I would do.
There could be worse places to just
Way worse.
overstay your
Here.
visa.
Here's way worse.
Mhm. All right, so I want to know, what are y'all doing this weekend, and what do you recommend people go check out?
Well, you probably know Cardi B's in town, huh?
Oh yes.
Oh, is
Oh
she?
yes. We're
Yeah.
Team Cardi on my household.
All day, man. Cardi is so politically correct to me. I want to give her my money without even going to the show, bro. Like, I love the fact that she be talking bad on ICE and bad on all these political, yahoos left and
Yes.
right. I love her lens on the world, and I'm proud of the way that she is not wavered by her wealth
Yes.
and sees her audience as people who are a direct reflection of her. And I just think the world of her. I pray that we get to bump into her somewhere in the town, that she's not just like, I mean, she is somewhere very fancy, I'm sure, right now, but maybe she has to walk from here to there and one of us will see her and then the whole town will find out.
Yeah, where do very fancy rich people stay when they come to Seattle? I don't actually know.
Fairmont? She's at the
Okay.
Fairmont.
Okay.
Yeah. She's like looking at the library and going like, that's a cute building. Right?
Mm.
And then she's looking at the water and going like, I want to see where they throw the fish. And she might go down there. She might go down there. I saw, my son goes to school at Pike Market, and I saw the dude who did Get Out and his wife one time at the market. looking
Jordan
Oh,
real
Peele?
swell.
Jordan Peele?
No
Oh, that's
way.
dope.
Yeah, and so my point is, people go to the market. The market is really a spot to check out the folk. They want to
It's
see it
true.
once.
It's
It's
real.
true.
And I do think it's very intentional that she's here on like 222, because Seattle's like very into that, like signs and stuff. I think she's trying to cast a good spell on us. I hope she gets ICE, like banned from our country.
Well,
With a
Marcus,
collective
besides
Buckeyes.
partying with Cardi B, what are you going to be doing this weekend?
Yeah, shameless plug. I am going to Lucy's Bottle Shop later today from 5 to 7 p.m. It's over in Magnolia, but they are hosting BIPOC winemakers
Cool.
along with some BIPOC caterers, and also supporting BIPOC media because it's a fundraiser for the South Seattle Emerald.
Hell yeah.
So
Yeah.
come enjoy. Half of the proceeds of anything that you buy goes directly to the Emerald to support our mission to make create the most authentic narratives from the South End and South King County. So please come through. I will be there. I'll be sipping on a couple of things, a little Pinot Noir.
Mhm.
And, so it should be a good time. 5 to 7 p.m. Please come through.
Dang,
I'm really
Marcus,
hoping people pull up.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wish I had known about it earlier before I made plans, or else I would go, but I'm going to a different fundraiser,
Oh,
which
okay.
is a QT Mahjong night. It's a Lunar New Year fundraiser at Reclaim Clay Collective, which, if you don't know, is a people of color, queer, women-owned pottery studio in the International District. Love
Okay.
them. And
Cute.
it's also a fundraiser for the Chinese Adoptee Collective. So I've always watched my parents play Mahjong and their friends play Mahjong when I was growing up, and I never learned the proper rules. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping to actually learn this time
Yeah.
around.
I mean, if
See,
they let you in the game, they're gonna
Yeah,
look at you
right?
like, "Girl, you don't know what you're doing." Oh my gosh,
I
she
might
on my
need to
team. She
just-
can't be on my team.
I just need to spectate for a little while, then maybe next time they do a fundraiser.
Or watch a bunch of
Absolutely.
videos, like crash course yourself, so that you walk in there very expert.
Ooh.
Like
Eula,
go to
that's a
sleep
great
listening to
idea.
videos on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
right. We got to
Yeah.
end this episode so that I can go watch a bunch of Mahjong videos. There's one thing that I wanted to shout out, which is that on Sunday, there's going to be a new episode in this very podcast feed. So CityCast has a new show called Your City Could Be Better, which is hosted by our CEO, David Plotz, who you might have heard a few months ago on this show asking dumb questions about Seattle. But he's talking to folks from around the country about what we could learn from their various cities. And this week, he's talking to Bianca Martin from CityCast Madison about how a Wisconsin suburb shut down a proposal to open a data center. So I think that's going to be a really interesting listen. I am looking forward to it. So listeners, if you see that in your feed, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all for today here at CityCast Seattle. Eula, so great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
And Marcus, thank you as always for being here and for bringing your wisdom back from Minneapolis to us.
Always a great time. Thank you.
I'm your host, Jane C. Hu. Our executive producer is Ashley Smith. Our creative producers are Sam J. Leeds and Liam Billingham. Post-production this week was done by PJ Shahamat. Our audience development manager is Ben Keenan. Music is by Aaron Taylor Waldman, All the Kimonos, and Los Mocachetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Our ad music is by Sven Lindvall and Sarah, the instrumentalist from Epidemic Sounds via Getty Images. And listeners, remember that we always love hearing from you all. Send us your news tips, your questions, your hot goss, your thoughts about what we should be doing this weekend by sending an email to seattle@citycast.fm. I will also note that after asking the other day about fried chicken recommendations, y'all came through in a big way. So keep those coming, please, and thank you. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail on the CityCast hotline at 206-880-3931. Thank you to our new CityCast Seattle neighbors, Daniel C., Bruce C., Jim C., Jeff E., Brian S., Josh H., Ben R., Natasha V., Nancy D., and Emily T. I also wanted to relay a shout out from Andrew C., one of our other neighbors, who wants to give props to Cedar Tea House on Rainier. He says Cedar is a chill late night, open till 2 a.m. hang. Sip some tea, kava, or mocktails while chatting up other folks or the owners. Bring a book or just simply vibe. What a great recommendation for a weekend event. Until next week, see ya, Seattle.
Peace.